Friday afternoon in Doha, and the city begins to come alive. The morning is a time of rest. Walk through the streets on a Friday morning in Doha and you will find it deserted. No activity in the souks, the streets quiet, cafes with the shutters down and the doors closed. And then, gradually, one by one, the residents of this extraordinary city make their way out onto the streets. Everything starts to liven up. At 3 p.m. the souk opens, a place of trade, a place to secure precious prizes, a place where nations of the world meet. A suitable metaphor for the Aspire Dome, where just 1 hour after the souk has opened, so the gymnasts of the world are in search of their own precious prizes. Not just the corporeal, the bronze, silver, gold, but something a little more ephemeral, form. Going into a big spell in the sport of gymnastics as we start to build towards World Championships and later on in 2024 the Olympiad itself. All of the gymnasts have got their eyes focused on eastwards and westwards as they think about things like the Asian Championships coming up in Singapore, the European Championships coming up in Turkey, the World Championships in Antwerp, all of the continental competitions that will take place, the regional games, the multi-sport events, and Paris 2024. Yes, here in Doha, in the land of the souks, you can get just about everything you want, as long as you're prepared to pay the price, as long as you're prepared to hand over a suitable difficulty and execution score in return for that bronze, silver and gold. It's a great pleasure to have your company for this, the second Artistic Gymnastics World Cup of 2023. The setting is the Aspire Dome in Doha, Qatar. My name is Ollie Hogben and it's a great pleasure to have you with us. We've got 5 finals to bring your way, starting with the men's floor exercise, then going to the women's vault, the men's pommel horse, the women's uneven bars, and the men's still rings competition. They'll run one after t'other, so we won't have overlapping finals, as sometimes happens at these FIG World Cup events. Just a little reminder there on that gentleman's jacket of another multi-sport event coming up, the World University Games in China in July in Chengdu. That was the 2013 edition that he's rather smartly attired himself with today. So these are the technical delegates who will have jurisdiction over the competition. But more importantly, we'll get the gymnasts out onto the field of play in just a moment.
And here are the first finalists. Please, ladies and gentlemen, welcome the gymnasts on men's floor exercise.
The men's floor competition will get us underway. And as the gymnasts come out, you'll notice one key absentee, Artem Dolgopiat, the top qualifier, the Olympic champion and the winner of the competition in Cottbus. That was the one last weekend. He's had to withdraw injured, regrettably. As a result, the young gentleman from the People's Republic of China, Chen Jilong, has come into this final as the first reserve, and it seemed, didn't it, as though everything was very much in the hands, in the possession of Artem Dolgopiat. Well, the floor final has become something of a nomad now. It hasn't got a clear permanent home in any of these gymnasts. It's quite simply up for the taking. Second strongest qualifier, Carlos Yulo, perhaps now becomes the most likely. And he did have 3+ tenths over Great Britain's Luke Whitehouse, the third strongest in qualification. will have 4 to warm up and compete, and then the next 4 will warm up and compete in the system that was adopted a couple of seasons ago. Good to see some excited spectators looking forward to this action in the Aspire Dome. Here are your 8. We'll hand over to Niels Daniel, the Master of Ceremonies. Nicolas Mir, 8th strongest in qualification. 3rd strongest in qualifying, Luke Whitehouse, the reigning English champion on floor. Minami Kazuki of Japan, World Championship silver medalist a couple of years ago. Carlos Yulo of the Philippines, a world champion on floor in 2019. Kim Vonstrom of Sweden, Team Nordic champion. Sugino Takaki of Japan, 24-year-old, 7th strongest in qualification. The 6th strongest, Adam Esil of Turkey. And Chen Jilong, the first reserve, gentleman from Guizhou in the People's Republic of China. He makes his senior international debut at this competition. One wonders what's going through this youngster's mind, having suddenly come in and to replace the reigning Olympic champion. Good luck to him, good luck to all of them.
A short warm-up, ladies and gentlemen, for the first 4 finalists. They get 30 seconds each, which means that the total warm-up time is 2 minutes.
The familiar voice of Mr. Niels Daniel doing the Master of Ceremonies duties. I'm sure you recognise him from many gymnastics World Championships, and he's a familiar voice at this Doha World Cup on the subject of things that are familiar. The wonderful Carlos Yulo, man from Manila, the thriller from Manila, but based in Tokyo. On the subject of people based in Tokyo, we also have Sugino Takaki in this final, and we have Minami Kazuki, who won the Japanese title on floor in Tokyo in June. But Yulo had the 2nd strongest performance in qualification, but we don't have the top qualifier, so unquestionably he's well positioned to take advantage of the absence of Artem Dolgopiat. Nicolas Mir will get us underway. A lot of attention, as it always is, will be on that gentleman. Also the reigning Asian champion on floor, as well as the world champion from 2019. And it was in this place, in Doha, that Carlos Yulo won his first World Championship honours in 2018. More on him later. Let's get underway. Nicolas Mir of Spain begins this floor final.
A man from Spain.
Just the 6th time that we've seen Nicolas Mir at a World Cup. 3rd of those in Doha. He's yet to win a medal.
Here is Nicolas Mir.
He was the 8th strongest in qualification with a score of 13.466. A little off axis on that first landing, struggling to get round in the twist position. Much more assured there. Better trajectory. That the finest of the 3 so far. What a delightful, smooth move into handstand. Real lack of interruption. That was very nice gymnastics from Mikel Almir of Spain. One suspects he'd love to just go back and have that opening tumbling pass again, because if you take the quite heavy adjustment that he had on that and put it to one side, that's a very assured performance from the 22-year-old from Mallorca. Let's have a look back at this display from Mikel Almir. That's the first tumbling pass, so several tenths certainly to be deducted in all for that. But once he brought in the tucked work and added it to his twisting, everything got really more assured right from the third tumbling pass onwards, and then there was really minimal adjustment.
Let's wait for the first score of this men's floor final.
It'll be interesting to compare that to his 7.766 in terms of qualification execution. Keeps his heels pretty well pressed together. He was part of the Spanish team that came sixth at the World Championships in Liverpool. So we await the score for Mikel Almir. The first of the 8 to go in this men's floor competition.
And there's the first score of the final. $13.4 for Mikel Almir from Spain.
13.4 for Mikel Almir, his execution down just a fraction. Probably much of that to be attributed to the opening tumbling pass. To Luke Whitehouse of Great Britain, third best in qualification with a score of 14.166. He's the reigning English champion on floor. He also was the bronze medalist in the all-around competition. He has some very exciting work. How about that? What a super beginning from Luke Whitehouse of Great Britain. Evidence of where his whopping 6.5 difficulty comes from. Oh, he does well to arrest a low landing coming out of the pike position. Great lower body strength. That's delightful from Luke Whitehouse of Great Britain. Some very interesting gymnastics. Now, that is extraordinary, to open with that triple back in the tuck position. He's had difficulty landing that in the past, but not on that occasion. Let's have a look at this again. 1, 2, 3. Fantastic. And it's a really steady landing too. Masses of height, and he's really been working on that opening tumbling pass. With diligence comes reward for the 20-year-old. Has a little splayed legs as he twists round, but it's a steady landing nonetheless. Well, that certainly is going to lay down a challenge for the rest of the field from young Luke Whitehouse of Great Britain. It's his 4th World Cup. The last was in Doha a year ago, where he was 8th in the floor final. He'll certainly go into the lead. 13.966 for Luke Whitehouse. Down by 2/10 from qualification. Now to Minami Kazuki of Japan. 23-year-old from Yamaguchi in the far southwest of Honshu, who was the silver medalist at the World Championships just across the waters in Kitakyushu. And he is the reigning national champion on floor, won the title in Tokyo in June. Now his scoring qualification, 13.966, but he did it with lower difficulty than Luke Whitehouse by 2/10. It's a slightly jarring landing. He's so quick in the air, Minami. A little chaotic almost as he whirls into the landing position, but it's challenging gymnastics in its difficulty. That's a compelling display from Minami Kazuki of Japan. He had a 0.1 penalty in the qualification phase, which he certainly won't have to worry about here. How his overall execution is will be interesting to look at.
Because he performs a new element on floor exercise. New element for Kazuki Minami.
Now we're just having confirmation that Kazuki Minami's delight is attributed to his performance of a brand new element, which he will now have named after him in the code of points.
We might see a replay of that. Watch the big screen.
Just about landed that okay.
The Minami, the real element of the Japanese athlete.
But a lovely moment for Minami Kazuki, entering, if all is confirmed by the technical committee, entering the code of points with a named skill.
Have we got any people from the Philippines here in the house? We can't hear you. Ladies and gentlemen, we meet you in 1 minute or so. Thank you so much for coming to
Into the lead goes Minami Kazuki, 14.2, his execution higher than Luke Whitehouse's, despite being a 10th lower on difficulty.
And now on floor exercise.
Now to Carlos Yulo of the Philippines, who'll be particularly popular in front of the Doha faithful. There is a large diaspora from the Philippines in this country. Quite a few of them have come along to watch him.
And there it is.
This gentleman is a superstar in his home country. 14.5 in the preliminary round. He struggled on floor in Cottbus at the World Cup, but this is where it all started for him at world level, where he won the World Championship bronze medal in 2018. Following year, he became the first ever champion of the world from his country. Oh, lovely layout position. That is so stylish. Steady as a rock. That really is splendid from Carlos Yulo of the Philippines. Very likely to go into the lead with that performance in front of quite a few admirers as well from his home country, who in turn call Doha their home. And he knows all about heading elsewhere to pursue his dreams, having gone to Japan. How admired he is and respected by his fellow competitors and his teammates there in the Japanese gymnasts who know him so well from club level. This was wonderfully sharp. Heels really clicked together. He's got a small amount of leg bend in the pike position, but the slow motion is very unkind to that sort of thing. Looked delightfully smooth in real time. And he had great steadiness in his landings, minimising those execution deductions. Look at that toe point. Oh, that is lovely gymnastics.
I think the score is out for Carlos Yulo.
It's got to lead, and easily. Oh, how about that for a number? 14.833. Execution of 8.333.
Carlos takes the lead.
That is so easily into the lead by well over half a mark. Good for him. So we now go to the second half of the men's floor final. 4 to warm up. Kim Vonström, Sugino Takaki, Adam Asil and Chen Jilong. Not a bad final, is it? At the moment we've got Carlos Yulo leading the way, then Minami Kazuki and then Luke Whitehouse. So 13.966 is the gatekeeping score for the medals. None of the gymnasts who we're about to see got a score really even close to that in the preliminary round. We're going to see the 5th, 6th, 7th and 9th strongest qualifiers now, so it's been a very top heavy final thus far in terms of the leading performers. We would have had Artem Dolgopiat performing last, but as I mentioned earlier, he has withdrawn due to injury, to be replaced by Chen Jilong. Well, what a super moment it is for the gymnast that you're looking at there. First ever World Cup final. Huge congratulations to Kim Vonström from Sweden, 24-year-old from Bronkirka near Stockholm.
And we start with second part of the floor final in Sweden.
First time we've seen him at international level since the European Championships in Munich. Very tidy gymnast, Kim Vonström. He was the all-around bronze medalist at the national championships, went with the Swedish team to the Nordic Championships last year where they won the team title. And his difficulty lower than the leading group, but this is tidy so far. Just a little adjustment step to demarcate that tumbling pass from the others. Well controlled Russian Wenderschwings. That's well performed by Kim Wåhnström of Sweden in his first ever World Cup final. And you look at the field, the quality of gymnasts here. This chap made it into the finals, the 5th best qualifier. That is a really impressive accomplishment. He outperformed Adem Asil. He outperformed Sugino Takaki. I mean, that really is some going. He's done really well. And it's nice to see his very confident and composed style of gymnastics.
Let's wait for his score. Kim Wåhnström.
He had a few moments on his landings that could have spiralled out of control, but there's a cool-headedness to the gentleman from the Greater Stockholm area. Quickly moves that, doesn't he, out of the landing into the transition into the corner to almost mask any potential issue that there could be with his landing control. He will have spent a lot of time focused on Doha of late, not just because of this World Cup coming up, but because he is an enormous association football fan. So he will doubtless have been glued to the FIFA World Cup. .366 for Kim Wåhnström. 13.366. Down by 0.3 from qualification, but a good performance overall, considering it's his first ever World Cup final. Now this gentleman, not even close to his first World Cup final, Sugino Takaki. 4 times he's won a World Cup gold medal. Only one of those has been on this apparatus, really best known for his pommel horse accomplishments. And we'll see him later in that final. But he did take the World Cup gold in Guimarães in Portugal in 2019. Comes into this as the 7th best in qualifying. One of the most joyous things about World Cup competition is when you get to see gymnasts that often don't quite make it onto their hugely strong national teams at world or continental championship level, but they are utterly worthy of wearing the national colours in World Cup competition. And there's an example of one such gentleman in Sugino Takaki. First FIG competition since the 2020 Baku World Cup, which was cancelled midway through due to the emerging days of the coronavirus pandemic. He was actually, I believe, the 2nd strongest in qualification in that Baku World Cup, and it was then called off after the qualification round. So really a sense of unfinished business for the 24-year-old. He's from Mie Prefecture in Kansai, the west portion of Honshu, but lives now further eastwards in Tokyo. .833. Takaki Sugino goes into fourth position. So now we have 2 to go, guaranteeing a medal therefore for Carlos Yulo. Adem Asil is one of them. 24-year-old, born in Alexandria in Egypt, but now competing for Turkey. He has won plenty of medals on this piece at multi-sport games, Mediterranean Games, the Islamic Solidarity Games. Qualification score 13.6. Just to remind you that 13.966 is the score required for a medal. He's got to be one of the most physically remarkable gymnasts in the world, Adem Asil, in terms of his ability to be a leading performer in all-around competition, on floor, on rings, as demonstrated there, where he is the reigning world champion. His versatility is really rather something. Good case made by Adem Asil of Turkey. Leading the way, it's Carlos Yulo, then Minami Kazuki, then Luke Whitehouse. 14.833, 14.2, 13.966. Asil certainly avoiding the 0.1 penalty that he endured in qualification.
One of those many international medal winners that we have at this World Cup here in Doha.
And we are going to enjoy the opportunity to see the world champion on rings in the rings final to conclude our coverage on this first day of competition at the Aspire Dome in Doha. There are very few people that have shown the kind of perseverance and single-mindedness that he has shown. It's a remarkably determined gentleman. Actually, he may have picked up a 0.1 penalty. I think I've spoken too soon. Indeed he has. 13.9 for Adem Asil. So he goes into fourth position, and that 0.1 penalty is what keeps Luke Whitehouse safe. So now Yulo and Minami have secured medals. The only person who can intercede is the last to go, first reserve, Chen Ji-long. We welcome him to his first ever World Cup final. The 22-year-old from Guizhou He made the floor final at last year's national championships, but he had a very tough time. He finished in last place. His qualification score would have placed him 4th. So that's evidence of the quality that this young man is capable of. You can get into the top 5 on floor at the Chinese national championships. You're doing a lot right. He's got some impact. He's a powerful athlete. Yes, he's gone out there. Very good clearance on those circles. Most of his landings have been crisp. Oh, that's most unfortunate for Chen Jilong, but what a glimpse we've seen there of a promising young gymnast. I mentioned that he had problems at the national championships where he also missed one of his landings and incurred a full mark deduction. He's had the same thing happen here. Well, we must mitigate this by saying he didn't have a great deal of notice that he was going to be in the final. Yes, as the first reserve, you've always got to be ready, but it would have been something of a surprise to not be witnessing Artem Dolgopyat in the final and to be taking his place.
And you see the asterisk next to the name of Adem Asil from Turkey. It means that he has found an inquiry, ladies and gentlemen. He does not agree with the difficulty score that he has got. I guess the judges will have a look at that in just 1 or 2 minutes.
There's a lot that is really enjoyable about his gymnastics. He's just lacking a little control in a few places and maybe lacking finals experience, because qualification and finals are different kettles of fish. But there's lots to take comfort in. And he's not a million miles away from getting that fully rotated and landed. Cruel things, twists. Score is 12.566. 6.766 for execution. Now, we cannot confirm the standings at the moment because we understand that Adem Asil has submitted a difficulty score inquiry. His score was the same as in qualification, 5.8. His execution was the second strongest. So all he needs is a change of 1/10 in the right direction to surpass Luke Whitehouse of Great Britain. There we have confirmation of that inquiry. As things stand then, Luke Whitehouse of Great Britain in the bronze medal position, Minami Kazuki of Japan in silver, and Carlos Yulo of the Philippines leading the way. Realistically, the change for Adem Asil would only likely have an impact on Luke Whitehouse in third place, because the gap is 13.9 for Asil to 14.2. So we'll keep you updated on any changes once they are announced, but for the moment it is Whitehouse, Minami and Yulo. but no classified results to bring you as of yet. We will move on though in just a moment to vault competition. The judges making their way out onto the competition floor for the women's vault final. There's been no change to the score for Ademasil and Consul, the remarkable Carlos Yulo. Got a fair few fans.
Representing Great Britain, Luke Whitehouse.
The winner of the bronze medal, Great Britain's Luke Whitehouse, his first ever World Cup honours. And this comes after winning the English title on floor.
Representing Japan, Kazuki Minami.
Minami Kazuki of Japan wins the silver medal. He was the World Championship silver medalist in 2021. How lovely to see him back in World Cup competition.
Gold medalist and winner of the World Cup in Doha from the Philippines, Carlos Yulo.
Splendid though from Carlos Yulo, a score of 14.833. It never really seemed in doubt. Difficult, elegant, poised. It's everything we know and love about Kaloy.
And we invite you, ladies and gentlemen,
and we'll now have the national anthem of the Philippines.
The national anthem of the Philippines. Luke Whitehouse, Kazuki Minami and Carlos Yulo, the medal winners of the men's floor.
The medalists
final.
In the men's floor competition at the Doha World Cup.
Deserve a picture with Mrs. Cynthia Carrion, the president of the Gymnastics Federation of the Philippines, with Ali Al-Hitmi, president of the Gymnastics Federation of Qatar, and vice president.
Yes,
of
there's
the
a reason why
International
people from the
Gymnastics
Philippines
Federation.
Gymnastics Federation tend to smile a lot at the moment
Member of the Qatar Gymnastics
because of that
Federation.
lad in the middle. A reminder of how it was won.
Gentlemen, congratulations. Thank you so much for joining us here in Qatar. Thank you so much. And we are ready for the medal award ceremony for the
On to the victory ceremony for the women's vault competition.